Part 5. Earth refused submission. The galaxy bowed in defeat. The explosion of the planet killer changed everything. Not just because it destroyed 300 Dominion ships, though. That alone was a massive blow. It changed everything because it broke something in the Dominion that had never been broken before. Their certainty. For 1,000,000 years, the Dominion had been inevitable. Species surrendered because resistance was pointless. The Empire stood because no one believed it could fall. But now, across 1,000 worlds, slaves and servants looked up at the sky and thought a single, dangerous thought. What if we could win? Within a week, rebellions erupted on 70 planets. Within a month, 200. The Dominion sent forces to suppress them. But every ship they sent to fight rebels was a ship that couldn't fight humans. Their fleet was being pulled in 100 directions at once. Admiral Dae-jung saw the pattern and understood. This was how they would win. Not through massive battles, but through exhaustion. They would bleed the Dominion until it could no longer function. All ships, he broadcast to the human fleet. New mission parameters. We don't fight to destroy them. We fight to stretch them thin. Hit their supply lines. Raid their outposts. Make them chase us. Every ship they send after us is a ship that can't suppress a rebellion. Commander So Young led her forces in a campaign of harassment that drove the Dominion to distraction. Human ships would appear without warning, strike fast and vanish before reinforcements arrived. They destroyed fuel depots, communication stations, repair facilities. Nothing big enough to be a decisive battle, but 1,000 small wounds that would not stop bleeding. On Carrack, Kale's resistance had grown into a full army. They controlled half the planet now. The Dominion sent a fleet to retake it, but when the fleet arrived, they found the rebels had evacuated the cities and retreated into the deep tunnels where ships couldn't follow. The Dominion had to send ground troops. The fighting was brutal. In the darkness of the tunnels, the rebels used every advantage. They knew every passage, every shortcut, every place to hide. They laid traps and ambushes. They turned the mines into a graveyard for Dominion soldiers. After 3 months, the Dominion withdrew from Carrack. It was the first planet they had ever abandoned. The news spread like wildfire. If Carrack could be free, any planet could be free. In the Dominion High Command, the Council of Overlords met in emergency session. Velroth stood before them, no longer certain and commanding, but desperate and afraid. The Empire is fracturing, Velroth said. We have lost control of 300 worlds. Fleet strength is down 40%. Rebellion is spreading faster than we can contain it. Overlord Krath, the being of pure energy, spoke. This has never happened before. We do not know how to fight an insurgency. We have only ever conquered. We need to negotiate, another overlord suggested. Perhaps we can offer the humans terms. No. Velroth's form flared with anger. We do not negotiate with inferior species. We are the Dominion. We were the Dominion, Krath corrected quietly. Now we are an empire in collapse. Pride will not save us. The argument continued for hours. Some overlords wanted to continue the war, to commit every ship to crushing humanity. Others advocated for strategic withdrawal, abandoning the outer sectors to consolidate control of the core worlds. A few even suggested surrendering and accepting whatever peace humanity would offer. The unity that had held the Empire together for 1,000,000 years was breaking. On Earth, Chancellor Yuna received reports of the Dominion's internal conflicts. Lieutenant Hyun, who had survived the Phoenix mission by ejecting moments before impact, had been monitoring Dominion communications. She brought evidence of the growing chaos to Yuna's office. They're falling apart, Hyun said. The overlords are fighting each other. Some want to negotiate. Others want to execute those who suggest negotiating. It's beautiful chaos. How much longer can we sustain this fight? Yuna asked Admiral Dae-jung. The admiral looked exhausted. He had aged 10 years in the past 8 months. Our fleet is down to 130 ships. We've lost hundreds of thousands of soldiers. Earth's economy is focused entirely on war production. We can keep fighting for maybe another year. After that, we'll have nothing left. Then we need to end this soon, Yuna said. One way or another. Dr. Hana entered the office. Since Taemin's death, she had thrown herself into her work, barely sleeping, barely eating. But she had results. I've been analyzing the Dominion structure, she said, placing data pads on Yuna's desk. The overlords control everything through a central command network. Every Dominion ship, every facility, every system links back to their flagship. If we could destroy or capture that flagship, we might be able to cripple their entire command structure. Where is the flagship? Dae-jung asked. It's currently near the Centauri system, trying to coordinate the suppression of rebellions in that sector. It's heavily protected, but the fleet around it is smaller than it was. They've had to disperse forces to fight on multiple fronts. Commander So Young studied the data. It's still suicide. That flagship is surrounded by at least 200 capital ships. Everything we've done has been suicide, Hyun said quietly. Taemin taught us that. Sometimes you have to do the impossible. Yuna looked around the room at these people who had fought so hard for so long. They had lost so much, friends, family, their own innocence, but they had never lost hope. Assemble the fleet, Yuna ordered. We're going to capture that flagship. The plan was called Operation Endgame. Every available human ship, 130 vessels, would attack the Dominion flagship. Simultaneously, every resistance cell across the galaxy would launch their largest coordinated uprising yet. The goal was to create such complete chaos that the Dominion couldn't respond effectively. Admiral Daijung would lead the space assault. Commander So Young would coordinate the ground rebellions. Dr. Hana would use the technology she and Bora had developed to disable the flagship's systems. Lieutenant Hyun would hack the command network once they were aboard. Chancellor Yuna insisted on joining the assault personally. If we're betting everything on this, then I should be there. Leaders don't send others to die while they stay safe. The fleet assembled at a staging area near Jupiter. Ships that had fought together for months, crews that had become legends, warriors who had faced death 100 times and kept fighting. They knew the odds. They knew most of them would not survive, but they also knew they had already done the impossible. They had defied the Dominion. They had inspired a galaxy. They had turned certain defeat into possible victory. This is Admiral Daejung to all ships. His voice echoed across the fleet channels. 8 months ago, the Dominion came to Earth and demanded our surrender. They thought we would bow like every species before us. They were wrong. We fought. We bled, we died, but we never surrendered. Today we end this war. Today, we show the galaxy that the age of the Dominion is over. Today we become the legends our children will tell stories about. The fleet jumped to hyperspace. They emerged near the Dominion flagship in a perfect formation. Alarms screamed across the Dominion fleet. How had humans gotten this close? How had they bypassed the sensors? The answer was Lieutenant Hyun. She had hacked the sensor network and created false readings that hid the human approach. By the time the Dominion realized what was happening, human ships were already firing. The battle that followed was the largest and most brutal of the war. 200 Dominion ships against 130 human vessels. Energy beams cut through the void. Missiles streaked through space. Ships exploded on both sides. Admiral Daejung commanded from his carrier, directing the assault with surgical precision. Commander So Young led a strike group that punched through the defensive perimeter. Dr. Hana and a boarding team used a captured Dominion shuttle to approach the flagship. Inside the flagship, Velroth watched the battle with a mixture of fury and disbelief. These humans would not stop. They would not surrender. They fought with a ferocity that defied logic. They're boarding us, an aide reported. Human soldiers are inside the ship. Kill them, Velroth ordered. Kill them all. But Dr. Hana's team had trained for this. They moved through the flagship's corridors using tactics learned from months of fighting. They were fast, aggressive, and desperate. Behind them, more boarding teams followed. Lieutenant Hyun reached a command terminal and began working. Her fingers flew across the alien controls. The Dominion's command network was vast and complex, but she had been studying it for 8 months. She knew its architecture better than the aliens who built it. I'm in, she announced. I have access to the command network. Uploading the virus now. The virus spread through the Dominion network like wildfire. It didn't destroy anything. Instead, it broadcast a single message to every Dominion ship, every facility, every outpost. The war is over. The overlords have surrendered. Cease all combat operations immediately. Across the galaxy, Dominion forces received the message and hesitated. Some ignored it. Some questioned it. But enough believed it that their coordination fell apart, and in that moment of confusion the rebellion struck. On 300 planets, resistance forces launched their final assaults. They attacked command centers, seized weapons depots, liberated prison camps. The Dominion forces, already stretched thin, and now. Part 4. Earth refused submission. The galaxy bowed in defeat. The broadcast went out on all channels. Velroth wanted everyone to see what happened to those who defied the Dominion. The Overlord appeared on screens across the galaxy, its crystalline form glowing with power. "Behold the price of resistance," Velroth said. "The planet you call Proxima Beta has harbored rebels. 3 billion Krell colonists live there. Watch what happens to those who support human defiance." The planet killer moved into position above Proxima Beta. The weapon charged, drawing power from subspace itself, creating a distortion that bent light and twisted reality. Then it fired. A beam of pure, destructive energy lanced down from orbit. It punched through the planet's crust straight to the core. The planet's molten heart destabilized. Tectonic plates shattered. Oceans boiled. The atmosphere caught fire. In 6 minutes, Proxima Beta broke apart. 3 billion Krell died screaming. The planet became an expanding cloud of debris and death. Dr. Hannah watched the destruction from Earth and felt something break inside her. She had worked with Bora, had shared meals with her, had become friends with her. Now Bora was gone, along with everyone else on that world. "This is our fault," Hannah whispered. "We inspired them to rebel, and now they're dead." Chancellor Una stood beside her, watching the same terrible images. "No, this is the Dominion's fault. They pulled the trigger. They chose genocide over accepting that someone said no to them." But across Earth, people were not so certain. Protests erupted in every major city. Crowds demanded that Una surrender before Earth suffered the same fate. Signs reading "Better alive than free" and "Save Earth, submit now" filled the streets. The United Earth Council called an emergency session. Councillor Minho, who had argued for surrender from the beginning, stood up. "Chancellor, you have led us to the brink of extinction. 3 billion beings are dead because we refuse to bow. How many more will die for your pride?" Other councillors nodded. A vote was called. Should Chancellor Una remain in power, or should she be replaced with someone willing to negotiate surrender? Una stood before the council, her face tired and gray. "I will not argue for myself. If you want to remove me, I will accept that decision. But I want you to understand something first." She activated a holographic display. Images of conquered species appeared. The Krell enslaved for 400 years. The Vryn worked to extinction in Dominion factories. The Skelth, their culture erased, their children raised to serve alien masters. The Dominion doesn't just conquer. It destroys everything that makes a species unique. It grinds them down until nothing remains but obedient tools. Una's voice grew harder. "Yes, 3 billion Krell died today. That's a horror I will carry forever. But billions more across the galaxy are watching us. They're seeing that resistance is possible. They're remembering what freedom feels like. If we surrender now, we tell them it was all for nothing. We tell them to give up hope." The vote was close. Very close. But Una remained chancellor by just 6 votes. In his office, Admiral Daejung worked with his staff on an impossible problem. The planet killer was in the center of the Dominion fleet, protected by thousands of ships. It would finish charging in 60 hours. They needed a miracle. Lieutenant Hyun burst into the room, her laptop in hand. "Sir, I found something. The planet killer draws enormous amounts of energy from subspace to charge its weapon. When it does this, it creates a detectable signature, and for about 10 seconds during the final charge sequence, it has to lower its shields to vent excess heat." 10 seconds? Commander So Young asked. "That's not much time." "It's enough," said a voice from the doorway. Captain Taman walked in. He looked exhausted. He had been flying missions nonstop for weeks, barely sleeping, pushing himself beyond any reasonable limit. But his eyes were bright with determination. "I can get a ship to it," Taman said. "During those 10 seconds, I can fly through the defensive perimeter and hit the weapon core." "You'd never make it out," Daejung said quietly. "I know." The room fell silent. Everyone understood what Taman was proposing. A suicide mission, a one-way trip to destroy the planet killer. "We'll load a ship with antimatter warheads," Taman continued. "If I can get close enough and detonate them inside the weapon core, the planet killer will explode. The blast will take out dozens of Dominion ships around it, and you'll be killed instantly," Hannah said. She had entered the room without anyone noticing. Taemin smiled at her. Over the months of war, they had become close. Nothing official, nothing spoken, but everyone knew. Better that than letting Earth die. Daejung wanted to say no. Wanted to find another way, but there was no other way. "I need volunteers for the mission crew. You'll need at least 6 people to operate the ship and the weapon systems." Within an hour, 60 people had volunteered. Taemin chose 5. Lieutenant Hyun to handle electronic warfare, 3 pilots to help with the approach, and 1 weapons specialist to arm the antimatter warheads. They had 48 hours to prepare. Chancellor Yuna visited them before the mission. She looked at these 6 people who were willing to die for Earth and felt her throat tighten. I don't have adequate words. Thank you seems insufficient. Just make sure it counts, Hyun said. If we're dying to save Earth, make sure Earth becomes something worth saving. The plan was called Operation Last Light. While Tai Min's team flew their suicide mission, every available human ship would attack the Dominion fleet. Commander So Young would coordinate uprisings on every rebel world simultaneously. The goal was to create so much chaos that the Dominion couldn't respond effectively. Admiral Daijung sent a message to all resistance cells. In 24 hours, we strike everywhere at once. Hit them with everything you have. Make them bleed. Make them afraid. Show them that resistance is not futile but inevitable. On Carrick, Kale read the message and smiled. His rebels had grown from 3,000 to 15,000. They had weapons, training, and most importantly, hope. Tell everyone to prepare, he ordered. Tomorrow we fight for our freedom. The same thing happened on 40 worlds. Resistance groups armed themselves. Saboteurs prepared explosives. Hackers readied viruses to cripple Dominion systems. Across the Empire, the oppressed prepared to rise up. The day of the operation arrived. Tamian and his crew boarded their ship, a fast attack vessel loaded with enough antimatter to destroy a small moon. The ship was named Phoenix. It would burn bright and then die, hopefully taking the planet killer with it. Dr. Hana met Taman at the airlock. They looked at each other for a long moment. No word seemed right. Finally, Hana spoke. Come back alive. That's an order. Taman laughed quietly. You're not my commanding officer. I don't care. Come back. He kissed her then, quick and desperate. Then he turned and walked into the ship without looking back. If he looked back, he might not go. The Phoenix launched. Behind it, 300 human warships formed up. Commander So Young commanded the fleet from her carrier. All ships, she broadcast, this is it. We give them everything we have. We buy time for the Phoenix to reach its target, and we show the Dominion that humans do not surrender. The fleet accelerated toward the Dominion forces. At the same moment, on 40 worlds, rebellions erupted. Bombs exploded in Dominion facilities. Rebels attacked garrisons. Hackers crashed military networks. The galaxy erupted in fire. Velroth watched reports flood in with growing horror. Rebellions everywhere. Human ships attacking. And somehow a small human vessel was racing toward the planet killer through the chaos. Stop that ship, Velroth commanded. All forces destroy it. But the Phoenix was fast and Taman was the best pilot humanity had. He dodged weapons fire, weaved through explosions, flew patterns that no sane pilot would attempt. Behind him, human ships died, buying him seconds, buying him distance. Lieutenant Hyun worked frantically at her console, jamming Dominion targeting systems, creating false sensor readings, doing everything she could to keep them alive for just a little longer. The planet killer loomed ahead, massive and terrible. Its weapon was almost fully charged. 10 more minutes and it would fire on Earth. We're not going to make it in time, one of the pilots said, watching the charge levels. Yes, we are, Taman said. His voice was calm, certain. Hold on. He pushed the engines past safety limits. The ship shook. Alarms screamed. The hull began to glow from friction and heat. But they accelerated. The planet killer began its final charge sequence. Shields lowered to vent heat. Taman saw his opening. Now, he shouted. The Phoenix shot forward like an arrow. Dominion ships fired desperately, but they were too slow. The human vessel plunged through the defensive perimeter, through the gap where shields had been, straight into the planet killer's weapon core. Lieutenant Hyun triggered the antimatter warheads. Light filled the universe. The planet killer exploded with the force of a dying star. The blast wave consumed 300 Dominion capital ships in an instant. The shockwave rippled through the fleet, cracking hulls and overloading systems. On Earth, people watched the explosion light up the sky. They saw the planet killer die. They saw Taman's sacrifice save their world. And across the galaxy, on every rebel world, people saw the same thing. They saw that the Dominion's ultimate weapon could be destroyed. They saw that humans would die to protect freedom. They saw that victory was possible. Part 3. Earth refused submission. The galaxy bowed in defeat. The message arrived 3 months into the war. It came through a hidden channel, encrypted in a way that human computers almost missed. Lieutenant Hyun caught it during a routine scan of deep space communications. "Admiral, you need to see this," she said, her voice tight with excitement. Admiral Dae-jung looked at the decoded message. It was simple. "We want to help. Please respond." "From the Krell. Who are the Krell?" Dae-jung asked. Dr. Hana pulled up her alien database. "A reptilian species. They were conquered by the Dominion 400 years ago, according to records they submitted after only 6 hours of negotiation. So why would they want to help us now?" Hyun typed rapidly. "Because we did what they didn't. We said no. And now they're watching us fight. And maybe they're remembering what it felt like to be free." Chancellor Yuna authorized a response. 2 days later, a small Krell ship arrived at a secret rendezvous point beyond Neptune. The ship was old, patched together from salvaged parts, but it had made the journey across Dominion space undetected. The Krell who emerged was named Bora. She was tall, covered in green scales with intelligent yellow eyes. She spoke through a translator device. "Thank you for meeting with me. What you are doing, it has given my people hope we had forgotten." "Hope is good," Yuna said carefully. "But we need more than hope. We need weapons, information, anything that can help us survive." Bora nodded. "I am a scientist. Before the conquest, I worked on advanced technology. The Dominion took our work and locked it away, but I remember. I can help you." Dr. Hana and Bora began working together immediately. The Krell scientist shared knowledge that the Dominion had suppressed, technologies they had forbidden conquered species from using. One technology in particular interested them, a weapon that could disrupt the quantum bonds in Dominion shields. "It will take months to build," Bora explained. "But with this, your ships can hurt theirs more easily. Why didn't your people use this?" Hana asked. Bora's expression darkened. "We never thought to fight. When the Dominion came, our leaders calculated the odds and surrendered. They thought submission was wisdom. Now we know it was cowardice." While the scientists worked, other things were happening across the galaxy. On a mining world called Karek, slaves watched broadcasts of human victories smuggled in by sympathetic guards. On a factory planet named Threxia, workers began sabotaging Dominion equipment. On a fortress world designated as Outpost 7, soldiers started accidentally missing targets during training. The Dominion noticed. But they didn't understand. Conquered species didn't rebel. It simply didn't happen. So they blamed it on inefficiency and poor management. Admiral Dae-jung received another message, this time from a resistance cell on Karek. "We are 3,000 strong. We have weapons hidden. Tell us what to do." Dae-jung stared at the message for a long time. Then he called Commander So-young into his office. "We're going to train them. Teach them how to fight like humans." So-young raised an eyebrow. "Sir, we're barely surviving ourselves. How can we support a resistance movement? Because if we don't, we fight alone. But if they rise up, the Dominion has to fight on 100 fronts at once. They can't suppress rebellions and wage war on us at the same time." Captain Taemin volunteered to lead the first contact mission to Karek. He took a stealth ship and a team of 6 specialists. The journey through Dominion space took 2 weeks of careful flying, avoiding patrols and sensor nets. Karek was a dead world. The Dominion had strip-mined it until nothing remained but gray rock and toxic air. The slaves lived underground, in tunnels that stretched for hundreds of kilometers. The resistance leader was named Kale. He was young, barely 20, but his eyes were old. "We've been waiting our whole lives for someone to show us it's possible to fight back." Taemin looked at the ragged group of rebels. They had makeshift weapons, no training, and were clearly terrified. But they had shown up. They were willing to try. "First lesson," Taemin said. "The Dominion is powerful but slow. They rely on overwhelming force and fear. You need to be fast, unpredictable, and brave. Hit them when they don't expect it. Disappear before they can respond. Make them afraid of you." Over 3 weeks, Taemin's team trained the Karek resistance. They taught them how to build explosives from mining equipment, how to hack communication systems, how to ambush patrols. They taught them the human way of fighting. Never give up, never surrender, always hit back. The first attack came on a Tuesday. Dominion guards were moving a shipment of refined minerals to a transport ship. The rebels struck from the tunnels, using explosive charges to collapse the road. In the chaos, they killed 15 guards and escaped with the mineral shipment. The Dominion sent reinforcements. The rebels struck again, this time hitting the reinforcement convoy. Then they attacked a command post. Then a fuel depot. Within a month, Carrick was in open rebellion. News spread to other worlds. If Carrick could fight back, so could they. Rebellions erupted on 6 more planets, then 12, then 30. The Dominion suddenly faced a problem they had never encountered. Their empire, stable for 1,000,000 years, was fracturing. Back on Earth, Dr. Hanna and Bora completed the shield disruptor. It was a missile-sized device that, when detonated near a Dominion ship, would cause their shields to collapse for several seconds. It wasn't much, but it was enough. Admiral Daejung planned a major offensive. He gathered 300 ships at a staging area near Jupiter. Commander So Young would lead the attack on a Dominion supply hub that supported their entire invasion fleet. "This is our chance," Daejung told his officers. "The Dominion is distracted by rebellions. Their supply lines are stretched. We hit them now, hit them hard, and maybe we can force them to reconsider this entire war." The attack began at dawn. Human ships emerged from Jupiter's magnetic field, which had hidden them from sensors. They launched the new shield disruptor missiles. Dominion shields flickered and died. Human weapons fired through the gaps. The battle was brutal. Dominion forces fought back fiercely, but they were unprepared for the new tactics. Commander So Young led her ships in aggressive maneuvers, constantly moving, never giving the aliens a stable target. After 6 hours of fighting, the supply hub was destroyed. 30 Dominion ships were lost. Humanity lost 70 ships, but they had won another major victory. More importantly, they had cut off supplies to the entire invasion fleet. Velroth stared at the reports with something approaching panic. This was not how wars were supposed to work. Conquered species served quietly. They didn't rebel. They didn't inspire others to rebel. They certainly didn't win battles. "We need to end this quickly," Velroth told the Council of Overlords, "before the infection spreads further." One of the other overlords, a being of pure energy named Krath, spoke. "What do you propose?" "The planet killer. We activate it and destroy Earth. The humans die. The rebellions lose their inspiration. Order is restored." There was silence. The planet killer was an ancient weapon, built 1,000,000 years ago. It had been used only 3 times in Dominion history. Each time it had shattered an entire world. "It seems excessive," another overlord said. "These humans are excessive," Velroth replied. "They have broken the natural order. They must be made an example." The vote was unanimous. The planet killer would be activated. Deep in the Dominion fleet, an enormous ship began to power up. It was spherical, 30 kilometers in diameter, covered in machinery that hummed with barely contained power. The weapon it carried could crack a planet's core and tear it apart. Lieutenant Hyun detected the energy signature. "Admiral, something big is powering up in their fleet. The energy readings are off the scale." Daejung felt his blood turn cold. "What is it?" Dr. Hanna checked the data Bora had provided. Her face went pale. "It's called a planet killer. The Dominion used one on the Krell colony world of Proxima 400 years ago. There were 3 billion Krell living there. Afterwards, there was nothing but asteroid debris." Chancellor Yuna received the report in her office. She read it twice, then sat back in her chair. They had fought so hard, won so many battles, inspired so many others to fight, and now the Dominion was going to destroy Earth entirely. "How long do we have?" she asked quietly. "The weapon takes 72 hours to fully charge," Hanna said. "Once it fires, Earth will be gone in minutes." Yuna looked at Admiral Daejung, at Captain Tae-min, at Commander So Young, at all the people who had fought so bravely. "Then we have 72 hours to stop it." "How?" So Young asked. "That ship is in the middle of their fleet, protected by thousands of vessels." Taemin smiled, his reckless smile. "We do what we always do. Something impossible." Across the galaxy, resistance fighters heard the news. The Dominion was going to destroy Earth. Many felt despair, but others felt something different. If the Dominion needed a planet killer to stop humanity, it meant the Dominion was afraid. And if the Dominion could be afraid, it meant they could be beaten. The countdown began. 72 hours to save Earth or die trying. Part 2. Earth refused submission. The galaxy bowed in defeat. Velroth did not understand. The concept of outright refusal was so alien to the Dominion that for 3 full hours the Overlord simply waited, convinced that humanity would reconsider. Surely they would send another message asking to negotiate. Surely they would realize their mistake. No message came. "Teach them," Velroth finally said. Teach them what happens to those who defy us. 3 Dominion dreadnoughts broke from the main fleet. Each ship was 5 kilometers long, bristling with weapons that could crack planets. They set course for Titan Station, humanity's largest military outpost orbiting Saturn. 50,000 people lived there, soldiers and civilians both. Admiral Dae-jung watched the dreadnoughts approach on his tactical display. Evacuate Titan Station. Everyone out. Now. Sir, we can't evacuate 50,000 people in time, his tactical officer said. Then evacuate as many as we can. Dae-jung's voice was hard. And prepare the defense fleet. All ships move to intercept. 80 human warships rushed toward Titan Station. They were fast, maneuverable, armed with the best weapons humanity had built. Against 3 Dominion dreadnoughts, they were insects attacking elephants. The battle lasted 11 minutes. Dominion weapons fired beams of pure energy that cut through human shields like paper. Human missiles exploded harmlessly against alien barriers. The dreadnoughts moved slowly, methodically, destroying ship after ship. Captains screamed orders. Crews died at their posts. Ships exploded in silent fireballs. Captain Taemin piloted his scout ship through the chaos, dodging weapons fire, trying to analyze the enemy. His hands moved across controls while his mind raced. There had to be a weakness. Everything had a weakness. Their shields, he muttered, watching his scanner. They're compensating for energy weapons. But they're slow to react. He switched channels. Admiral, their shields are optimized for energy. What if we hit them with something physical? We don't have kinetic weapons strong enough, Dae-jung replied. No, Taemin said, but we have ships. Before anyone could stop him, Taemin accelerated directly toward the nearest dreadnought. His ship was small, fast, and in 10 seconds it would impact the alien vessel at a significant fraction of light speed. Taemin, no, someone shouted. At the last moment, Taemin ejected in an escape pod. His ship slammed into the dreadnought's shield. The barrier flickered, struggled to compensate for kinetic impact, and for half a second it failed. In that half second, Admiral Dae-jung fired everything he had. Nuclear missiles, plasma torpedoes, railgun rounds. They punched through the weakened shield and struck the dreadnought's hull. Explosions rippled across its surface. The alien ship didn't die, but it was damaged. For the first time in a million years, a Dominion vessel had been hurt, but the cost was terrible. 70 human ships were destroyed. Titan Station fell. 43,000 people died. The 2 undamaged dreadnoughts returned to the main fleet, and the damaged one followed slowly behind. Humanity had learned something valuable. But the price had been paid in blood. Commander So Young was one of the survivors of Titan Station. She was 39 years old, a career soldier who had risen through the ranks by being tougher and smarter than everyone around her. She had evacuated 6,000 civilians before the station exploded. Now she stood in Admiral Dae-jung's office, her uniform torn and burned. They're too strong, she said quietly. Sir, we can't win this way. I know. Dae-jung pulled up tactical displays. Which is why we're not going to fight this way. New orders are going out now. Protocol Wildfire is active. So Young blinked. The guerrilla protocol? Sir, that's for insurgency operations, not fleet combat. Exactly. The Dominion expects us to mass our forces and defend our worlds. Instead, we scatter. Small ships, hit-and-run attacks, no predictable patterns. We make them hunt us across the entire system. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Hune sat in a dark room filled with computers. She was 26, a cyber warfare specialist who could hack systems that most people couldn't even understand. She had been working nonstop since the Dominion arrived, trying to break into their communication networks. Got something, she said suddenly. Dr. Hana, who had been watching over her shoulder, leaned closer. What is it? Their ships talk to each other constantly, sharing data, coordinating movements. But the encryption is old. Really old. They haven't updated it in thousands of years because no one has ever tried to break it. Can you get in? Hyun smiled. I'm already in. I can't control their ships, but I can listen. And maybe with time I can cause some confusion. Over the next week, humanity changed its tactics completely. Instead of defending fixed positions, human ships operated in small groups, attacking supply lines and isolated vessels. They used asteroids for cover, struck without warning, and disappeared before the Dominion could respond. Captain Taemin led many of these raids. He became famous for impossible maneuvers, for attacking when no sane person would attack, for escaping when escape seemed impossible. Other pilots started copying his style. The Dominion called him the Mad One. Humans called him a hero. One raid became legendary. Taman led 15 small ships into the asteroid belt, where a Dominion supply convoy was passing through. He knew the alien shields were slow to react to physical impacts, so he didn't fire weapons. Instead, he used mining charges to launch asteroids at relativistic speeds. The rocks hit the convoy's shields, which flickered and failed under the kinetic bombardment. Then human ships darted in, firing missiles at point-blank range. 6 Dominion ships exploded. The rest scattered. Admiral Daejung watched reports of successful raids pile up. They were winning small victories. But small victories wouldn't stop 12,000 alien warships. "We need something bigger," he told his staff. "We need a battle that changes everything." Lieutenant Hyun provided the answer. "Sir, I've been tracking their fleet movements. They're sending a major battle group to attack our colony on Proxima Station. 40 capital ships, including one of their command carriers." "How do you know this?" "I'm reading their communications." "They don't know I'm there." Daejung smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. "Then let's give them a surprise. Commander So Young, gather every available ship. We're setting a trap." The trap was simple but effective. Humanity knew the Dominion fleet would take a specific route through the asteroid belt to reach Proxima Station. So human ships, hundreds of them, hid among the asteroids. They powered down completely, becoming invisible to sensors. The Dominion battle group entered the belt, confident and careless. They had never been ambushed before. Why would they start worrying now? Admiral Daejung waited until the aliens were deep in the asteroid field. Then he gave the order. Hundreds of human ships powered up simultaneously. Nuclear weapons detonated throughout the belt, launching thousands of asteroids at the Dominion fleet. The aliens tried to raise shields, tried to turn, tried to escape, but there were too many rocks moving too fast. Asteroids slammed into shields. Shields failed. More rocks hit hulls. Ships cracked open. Atmosphere vented into space. And while the Dominion fleet struggled with the kinetic bombardment, human ships attacked with every weapon they had. The battle lasted 43 minutes. When it ended, 17 Dominion capital ships were destroyed. Thousands of aliens were dead. The rest of the battle group retreated in disorder. Humanity lost 98 ships. But for the first time since the war began, they had won a real victory. News of the battle spread across Earth like wildfire. People celebrated in the streets. Monuments were raised for the dead. Captain Taman's face appeared on posters everywhere. Commander So Young was promoted and given command of a carrier group. Lieutenant Hyun was awarded every medal the military could give her. But in his office, Admiral Daejung stared at casualty reports and felt no joy. They had won one battle. The Dominion still had thousands of ships. This war was far from over. In the Dominion flagship, Velroth watched reports of the defeat with something approaching anger. Anger was not an emotion the Overlord had felt in millennia. "This is impossible," Velroth said. "They are primitives. They should be dead or surrendered by now." An advisor, another crystalline entity, spoke carefully. "Perhaps we underestimated them. No species has ever done this ever in 1,000,000 years. Yes, Overlord. Which is why we don't know how to respond. We have never fought a war. We have only conquered." Velroth was silent for a long moment. Then the Overlord made a decision. "Send word to the Council of Overlords. Tell them we need more ships, many more. These humans will learn that defiance leads only to destruction." But as the message was sent, something else was happening, something the Dominion didn't notice. Throughout their empire on 1,000 conquered worlds, slaves and servants were hearing rumors, whispers of a species that said no, tales of humans who fought back, stories of victories against impossible odds. And on those worlds, in the darkness, in secret places, some people began to wonder. If humans could resist, maybe others could too. The seeds of rebellion were planted. Soon they would grow. Part 1. Earth refused submission. The galaxy bowed in defeat. The stars above Earth dimmed that morning. Not because of clouds or storms, but because something vast had arrived. Ships, thousands of them, each larger than Earth's biggest cities, blocked out the sun. They moved in perfect formation, silent and terrifying. People in every country looked up and knew their lives had changed forever. Admiral Daejung stood on the command deck of the Earth Defense Station, watching the alien fleet approach. He was 53 years old, with gray hair and tired eyes that had seen too many battles. He had fought in the colony wars, defended Mars from pirates, and protected humanity's expansion into the stars. But nothing had prepared him for this. How many? He asked quietly. 12,000 capital ships, sir, replied his tactical officer. And those are just the ones we can count. There could be more behind them. Daejung nodded slowly. Earth's entire defense fleet numbered 300 ships. This was not a battle they could win. This was not a battle at all. This was an execution waiting to happen. Dr. Hana arrived at the station 2 hours later. She was a xenobiologist, someone who studied alien life. She was young, only 31, with sharp eyes and a mind that worked faster than most computers. The government had called her because humanity needed to understand what they were facing. They're called the Dominion, she explained to the emergency council meeting. We picked up fragments of their language from old space probes. They've been conquering species for over 1 million years. They control most of the galaxy. Chancellor Yuna sat at the head of the table. She was the elected leader of United Earth, a woman who had spent 20 years in politics, always fighting for peace and cooperation. Today her face looked carved from stone. What do they want? Yuna asked. To make us submit, Hana said. Every species they encounter gets the same choice. Join them as servants or die as rebels. According to our data, no one has ever chosen to fight. Because they're smart, muttered one of the counselors. You don't fight when you're outnumbered 1,000 to 1. Before anyone could respond, the communication systems activated. Every screen on Earth, every phone, every device suddenly showed the same image. A creature appeared unlike anything humans had ever seen. It was made of crystal and light, its form constantly shifting, its voice echoing like music and thunder combined. I am Velroth, overlord of the Dominion. You will listen. The creature spoke in perfect human language, though its mouth never moved. Your species is young and primitive. You have spread to a handful of worlds. You possess basic technology. You are nothing compared to the Dominion. But we are generous. We offer you a place in our empire. Velroth's image grew larger, more imposing. You will surrender all weapons. You will provide 30% of your population to work in our industrial systems. You will obey our laws and serve our purpose. In exchange, you will be protected and allowed to exist. You have 6 hours to accept. The screens went dark. The council chamber erupted in chaos. People shouted, argued, some even cried. Chancellor Yuna sat silently, her hands folded on the table. Admiral Daejung watched her, waiting. Finally, Yuna spoke. Admiral, if we fight, what are our chances? Daejung didn't hesitate. 0. We'd last maybe a day. Probably less. And if we surrender? We'd survive. As slaves. A counselor named Minho stood up. He was old. A former general who had retired to politics. Slavery is better than extinction. We have children to think about. Families, future generations. If we fight, there won't be any future. Others nodded. The mood in the room shifted toward acceptance, toward survival at any cost. Then Dr. Hana raised her hand. May I say something? Yuna gestured for her to speak. I've been studying the Dominion's historical patterns, Hana said. Every species they encountered submitted within hours. The longest resistance lasted 9 hours before surrender. But here's what's interesting. Not a single species ever said no. They all negotiated, tried to bargain, asked for better terms. But in the end, they all bowed. What's your point? Minho asked. My point is that the Dominion has never faced actual defiance. They don't know what it looks like when someone refuses to submit at all. They might be powerful, but they've never tested that power against someone who absolutely will not surrender. Captain Taemin entered the chamber at that moment. He was a pilot, one of the best, known for flying impossible missions and surviving. He was 35, with a cocky smile that never quite faded, even in serious moments. Sorry I'm late, he said. I was running tests on their ships. Want to hear something interesting? Go ahead, Yuna said. Their technology is 1 million years old. It hasn't changed. Why would it? They haven't needed to improve. Every species they meet just gives up. They're not innovators. They're bureaucrats with big guns. Daejung leaned forward. Are you suggesting we might have an advantage? I'm suggesting, Taemin said, that we're crazy enough to try things they've never seen before. Humans don't have 1 million years of history, but we have something they don't. We're unpredictable. The debate continued for hours. Some argued for surrender, for pragmatism, for survival. Others spoke of dignity, of freedom, of what it meant to be human. The clock ticked down. 4 hours left, 3, 2. Finally, Chancellor Yuna stood. I've heard everyone's arguments, and I've made my decision. She looked around the table at each face. I know that surrender makes logical sense. I know that fighting means death for millions, maybe billions. I know that refusing might doom our entire species. She paused. But I also know that if we surrender now, we surrender forever. Our children will be born into chains. Their children will never know freedom. Humanity will become just another servant race in someone else's empire, and I cannot accept that. I will not accept that. Yuna's voice grew stronger. Admiral Daejong, prepare the defense fleet. Dr. Hana, find us any weakness in their systems. Captain Taemin, get ready for combat. Everyone else evacuate civilians to the colony worlds. If Earth falls, humanity survives elsewhere. Minho stood up. This is suicide. You're killing us all. Maybe, Yuna said. But we'll die as free people, not live as slaves. And who knows? Maybe we'll surprise them. When the 6 hours ended, Chancellor Yuna appeared on every screen just as Velroth had. But her message went not just to Earth but to every corner of space, transmitted on all frequencies. Overlord Velroth, you have given us an ultimatum. You expect us to bow as every other species has, but you don't understand humans. She smiled, and it was not a friendly smile. We don't bow. Earth refuses your demands. Earth refuses submission. If you want our world, come and take it. We'll be waiting. The transmission ended. Above Earth, in the Dominion flagship, Velroth stared at the screen in disbelief. In 1,000,000 years, across 1,000 conquered worlds, no one had ever simply said no. The crystalline entity felt something unfamiliar, something it hadn't experienced in countless centuries. Uncertainty. And in that moment, the war began.